And we are live and back better than ever. Learn podcast. It's been a while, guys, and I miss everybody so dearly. And of course, for the audience who is going to tune in or who is going to be listening, we missed you a lot, and we are so happy to be back. We're more stronger than ever. And today we have a very interesting topic. Today we are going to be talking about, are you a leader or the follower, right? And I'm here today with Kara from Taking Care of Your Business, amazing executive coach, and with Bruno Gill, who is a self-love coach. And we have Johnny supporting us on the spiritual plane today. So he's with us and just give us the high vibe. And thanks, Johnny, for hosting it. So let's just dive into the topic. And I know, Kara, this is something near and dear to you. Why don't you start?
Oh, leadership. Are you a leader or a follower? You know, the thing I love about this is that we feel like maybe it really is an either or, but I would challenge, because I got to throw the challenge down, bring the controversy right away. What if we're both? What if there are things that we lead in and things that we follow in? And what if that's actually awesome? That's the first thing that came to my mind.
I love it. I love it, right? Because I think the world itself is not black and white, right? So there is no such a thing as right or wrong. So we kind of are the ones to determine, right? And everything is in our individual perception. So I totally love your answer. Your question. And obviously, when we say, when I would consider myself the follower, when I'm following the new instructions, I'm following the new presentations, the new model, the new teaching. That's where I see myself as the follower. And obviously, for the rest, I see myself as the leader. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bruno, how about you?
I love this topic because it's, let's say that it's like Kara said, right? It's good to be both, right? You have to know when to act up and be the leader, and you got to know when to take a step back and just listen and just follow the leaders. Now, a big problem is when people follow followers, right? And that's the big problem. And that's what I feel like a lot of people, in the masses end up doing, is that they end up following followers. And when you follow the followers, you never end up being a leader, right? And so if you're going to follow anybody, follow an actual leader, right? Whether if it's a woman, whether if it's a man, right? Because it's very easy to, it's like, people can pretend they know what they're saying because they move their hands or they talk or whatever, but it always matters what's coming out of the mouth, and the content behind it. Really, then knowing, looking like this, looking like that, absolutely not. That never cuts it. And so, I do love this topic because when we talk about motivation, when we talk about discipline, when we talk about consistency, it's always about leaders and followers, right? Duality. It's, we live in a world of duality, right? Action, reaction, black and white, like short or, like tall, rich or poor, right? And, yeah, I mean, a leader or follower, that's kind of like what comes to my mind, without the basics of the basics. That's kind of like what comes to my mind. Very important to see who we follow, right? But at the same time, very important to know who we are leading, because sometimes there's certain intentions we have for people, and people don't have those same intentions. And like we see things in people that people don't see in themselves, and that can either be good because people are looking for that and they're looking for somebody who believes in them. And that's really the one of the traits that leaders should have is, see, really like see, and see what you can be before you actually see it, and then with time you see it as well, right? That can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. We're like, no, not at all, that is not my intentions. And I feel blessed that you think that about me, but at the end of the day, I don't have those intentions for myself. So yeah, whatever. So it's very important to who leaders spend their time with, not just with other leaders, but really paying attention if the person that they want to teach, learn, or guide, right, is also worth their time, right? Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. You know what question comes to me, and I love everything what we are revealing here. Kara, define what does leader mean for you?
Oh, good. Uh, For me, a leader is someone who is blazing the trail. That's the person who kind of has the idea, who has the audacity to say the thing about going down the path that they see. Which means that my definition of follower is then the person that the next 2 to 3 to 20 to 2,000 to 20,000 people that are like, oh shit, that's a good idea. I'm gonna go with that
Mhm.
guy. I'm in. Let's go that way. Uh, yeah, although I want to highlight a couple of things I heard from Bruno because they're sticking in my head. I love the idea of don't follow a follower because it's kind of like when you make a copy of a copy. That only
Yeah.
works for a first couple of copies, and then the copies start. Then you get the telephone game, and it's not going to go well. Like, don't. That's not great. Um, and how powerful in leadership recognizing what are the second followers, the first person to join your bandwagon, like you absolutely want to love up on them, like they saw your idea and were like, that I'm in. But the second person, that's when the momentum starts. That's when you got that second follower. Now it's not just a couple of weirdos, like it's a group of weirdos, and weirdos attract weirdos, so that works out really well.
Yes. But you know what? I'll take it back. What are the qualities? Like, what are the qualities of the leader? Like, how do you actually? Okay, I understood that this is somebody who is a trailblazer. Let's say the
Mm-hmm.
pioneer. Maybe like taking the idea and creating the physical reality from that idea. What are the qualities though for the leaders?
That's a good question, and I'm going to follow it with good leaders or bad leaders, because there are both, and they have qualities. They have qualities. Um, so when you asked that question, my immediate thought was, well, depends on where you are going. There are leaders who are leading in a path that uh, is backwards, is retroactive to the progress that has been made in a cultural space. And for them, it's all about conservation. It's all about holding to ways that work. I mean, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And there are qualities to that that are part of a good
Mhm.
leader. Just like those who are progressing, who are marching forward, who are streamlining and steamlining the path ahead, they are they are thinking on global or broader scales. They are driven to expand and grow, and there are good and less good qualities in both of those kind of leaders. So I suppose the best qualities overall that I would say a leader, to be a leader, that you have to have is confidence in what you are doing and why, so that you can clearly articulate that, share that, communicate that. They all leaders have communication skills, ideally good communication skills, but that's not always a guarantee. All leaders have followers. The amount doesn't really matter, but all leaders have followers. That is a quality that they have. People listen to them and they
Mhm.
want to follow. And I would hope, in the direction we are going in this world, I would hope that more and more of our leaders have empathy and an understanding that they are leading humans down human paths. I don't know that that has always been true, but I would hope that that is one quality we now are starting to expect in our leadership.
Mhm. Awesome. When you speak, what comes to me, leaders versus managers, right? Because
Boss.
that's exactly the difference, right? Because the leaders are like having all these beautiful qualities that you, Kara, listed, right? And managers are more like these like close-minded people who always want to control others, people who like for them the status is the most important thing, so they want to show up in that status regardless whether they really making the move in whatever they are doing, right? It's all about just like look at me, right? And they don't, and like you mentioned, it's very important to have empathy, and those people usually do not have empathy. All it is just like i I am the ruler, and you just have to follow my rules. That's pretty much right, Bruna? What about you? What are the qualities that you would define the leader to be?
Well, Kara nailed it there. Empaths. I feel like the world needs more empathetic people, and that has nothing to do with how sensitive you are or not, if to energies. Because empathetic people, they feel those energies a little bit more than usual people, right? It's an actual characteristic, but that's not a negative thing. It's actually a superpower, because if you know how somebody feels, then you can know how the what you don't know the experience of what made the person feel, but you know exactly how the person feels. So you know how intense or not it is. So now you just gotta ask the questions that will make the person feel confident or and comfortable enough and safe enough to open up with you, right? Because the experience might be different, but everybody feels stress the same way. Everybody feels anxiety the same way. Everybody feels frustration and anger and sadness and adrenaline the same way. And it
Yes.
triggers different parts of your chest. It triggers different parts of your body, right? And once you know how the person feels, right, depending on the intensity of that feeling, you know how important or not, right? Because if it wasn't important, then the person wouldn't be feeling that way, right? So it's something that really either really damaged the person a lot or it didn't. Now, Irina also touched on a very good point, right? Bosses versus leaders, right? And I feel like apart from bosses telling you what to do and leaders showing you how to do it, right? Apart from that, I think a good leader is able to highlight, like I said before, right? Like highlight the things that you cannot see in yourself, either now or the things that you can be in the future, right? Bosses don't care. Bosses, they don't care about your qualities. They care about the results, and that's all they care about. And you either have those qualities or you don't, right? Leaders, on the other hand, they give the opportunity, right? They believe in you. They believe that, like, okay, you failed now, but I see more for you than you actually see. You have to believe in yourself, because if you don't, then I can't do anything for you. I try to lead you the best way possible, but if you can't be your own leader, or at least if you can't really believe in yourself and do it, then I can't really do anything for you. I tried my best, I really did, but I can't. Bosses don't even go there. They're like, look, I don't care about you. Do it or don't do it. I'll replace you
Leave it at
anyways.
the door.
Yeah, right. And so qualities of a good leader is, again, empathetic people, people who believe in other people, people who are driven by purpose and stuff. Both bosses, both bosses and leaders are driven by a purpose. The purpose is different. The purpose of bosses are driven by the results purpose, and leaders are driven by a completely different purpose, um, called impact, right? Now, it's all about the impact that you have on the other person, right? The leader wants to impact the heart and the belief of the person who's leading them. Look, it's possible. You can do it. See how you can do it? Bosses have the purpose of, like getting things done, no matter what, right? It's more of a money-driven result, right? I give an example. I usually tell people, look, I came back to doing some copywriting, and I tell people a lot. I tell, like, look, like I value more businesses who value and want to have the impact that they want to have in the world, rather than the profits they make, because when the impact comes, the sales they make is inevitable, right? But that's also because of the culture and the values I like to work with, right? Because I know for a fact that people who have emotion attached to that purpose, to that drive of impacting the world, those people are the true leaders, right? And so I want to be surrounded by leaders. I want to sell services to leaders. I want to network with leaders, right? Like I don't want to be being surrounded by people who treat other people as slaves or whatever, like they owe them anything, simply because they're doing what they're doing. That has nothing to do, right? And so, yeah, leaders have to be empathetic. Authenticity is a very good thing. You are your biggest testimonial. Never forget about that. A leader is its biggest testimonial, right? You can't be saying certain things, doing certain things, if you're not able. Oh, hello.
Ah, how cute. Did he
Hi
just
there.
wake up?
Oh, somebody's shy.
I can see that face for sure. Oh,
God,
see,
you were saying beautiful things. Please keep saying beautiful things.
Okay, keep saying beautiful things. Absolutely. No, but yeah, right. I mean, empathetic. They have to be empathetic, authentic, and we are our own biggest testimonial, and we are, right. And so we cannot tell people say this, say that, do this, do that, if we're not doing it ourselves, and at the same time, if we are not really, operating that way, right? Because then it's just a bunch of hypocrisy. It's either we say those things and we make it. It's either people say those things and people make it their own, like they were the ones who came up with it because it looks good to do it, or people just say it because it's luck. But it stops being luck, and it stops being you're not gambling or being lucky by saying the right thing when you are that, right? And that's the trait of a leader, is that the leaders truly uh, they speak, and they speak well, sure, but at the same time their actions and their posture in the world speaks loudly, right? Even if it comes in a form of silence, doesn't matter. So yeah.
I love what you shared, Bruno. And when you ask me to define a good leader, what comes to me is fearless team player.
Mm.
Somebody who is gonna go where nobody else dares to go, right? And to be a great example for others. And also somebody who takes the initiative. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And I remember at one of my places, I had a boss who had a very top position, but when it was time to file and move these big boxes, he would do with everybody else. So that just shows the leadership, not just the management, but the leadership. Because a lot of people in management, they would be okay, go, like in the lower rank, go and do this kind of work, right? I wasn't signed up for that. But leader is the one who takes things in charge, who takes the initiative, no matter what kind of work is there. They are the first one to jump into the hot waters and do this work. Kara, what do you
Mhm.
think?
I love a leader who is willing to say that I'm never going to ask you to do something I'm not willing to do.
Absolutely.
I think that is, I don't know if that is a quality, but that is a skill that you can develop that
Mhm.
will serve you forever. If you are willing to get in the trenches with your people, they will be willing to get in the trenches with you. That is why that is a term.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Can you just describe one of the personal experiences where you experiences somebody who is in a leadership position versus somebody who is in a management position?
Oh, I can tell you my favorite moment when I realized the difference for myself as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I was managing a sales force during the day, a door-to-door sales company, and managing servers in the afternoons and evenings. I was about 23 at the time, and I was tired of being the most in charge adult person, so I wanted to get another job where I wasn't in charge, and got hired as a boss. But for the first time, it was in an industry that I really didn't know anything about. You're just gonna have to wait, love.
Look,
Right.
I'm so sick.
Okay, go get a drink.
No,
Okay. We're thirsty and we're tired, and we only slept for 1 hour instead of 2, and we're not really sure what to do with life. And that's kind of how I felt. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I started this job, and I was like, I don't know. My job is to get you to do your job, and I don't know what your job is. I don't know what that is. So you're gonna have to tell me. And I was able to lead from behind so that I could clear the path and then get to the front. And then I was able to lead from the front. But they allowed me the opportunity to lead them rather than manage them. They told me what they needed. I went and got it. And then got in the trenches. If things were crazy and busy, I was there with them. And from that point on, I learned how you can leverage a team to work together, even if money's not a thing.
Yeah, you have to be able to inspire people. Again, it goes back to what Bruno said, motivate them, right? Believe in them, because everybody loves that, right? So sometimes, like I always said, like sometimes when I was working in the corporate world and they wanted us to stay, a lot of extra hours and they were not compensating. And I said, wouldn't it be a nice thing if, like our leader manager would say, hey, you know what, because you're working so many extra hours, how about having a couple of days off, right? If you don't want to be compensating us or monetary wise. So there are all different strategies and opportunities for being and demonstrating to be a good leader. So that's exactly what these traits are. And obviously, that's why we are having this powerful discussion, right? And again, sometimes these managers also could be the followers, right? That's exactly how it is. Bruno, what does it come for you?
No, absolutely. Like these managers are followers, right? These managers are followers because they learned with the wrong people on how to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're doing their best, right? It's like managers. I mean, don't get me wrong with what I'm about to say, please. But I did have the experience when I was a kid. Managers are like single moms. They have no idea what the fuck they're doing, right? They're just doing their best, right? My mom was a single mom as well, right? And so it's like they try their best, absolutely, right? But they're not doing it right, right? But they're doing their best, and you have to respect that, right? You have to respect that. But here's a big difference in this example about like managers and leaders. Is that leaders, they will absolutely put themselves in the fire for you, and managers will be like, you're on this on your own, fuck off. It's like, I know I don't want to be in this. It's not worth my time. Completely, like totally, right? And now another thing that just it came to me when both of you were talking and you were saying amazing things. Um, which was it came to me, which was you gotta be willing to be the fool, right? A leader in the process has to be able to be the fool. If you ever want to be the king, you have to be being the pawn. Learn with the king, right? Because just because you don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be seen as the pawn towards a king, that does not mean that you're not a pawn. That doesn't invalidate the fact that you're still a pawn. You're going to be a pawn for the rest of your life if you're not willing to look like a fool. Be the fool, right? Be the dumb one for once, so then you can be smart after analyzing and knowing what you're supposed to do, like a king would, right? And a lot of people, they don't really kind of like understand that. And so even today, I know I have king knowledge. I know I do, and I'm very proud of that. However, today I was networking with a woman who had like, fuck, I don't know, like 30, 40 plus years experience in me. And she was bombarding me. She was destroying me. Not in a bad way, in a good way. She was putting pressure on me to see if I was really good at what I would do, right? But at the end of the day, I shut up, right? And I just listened. And I absorbed and I absorbed and I absorbed and I absorbed. And that doesn't mean I'm not good at what I do. It just means I am willing to listen to people who have more experience in what I in whatever they do, and they know more, and they dealt with more people, and they've been in more years in business, and they know more. And you got to be willing to quiet yourself to people that deserve that silence, right? And so it's important, right? And I'm glad that happened. And I told that person, I want to keep this relationship with you because you're one of the few people, right, who came in here and told me things like, straight to the face, exactly how I like it, right? And the person was a little bit admired because you don't usually see that, and I understand, but that's also a quality of a leader, is knowing when to listen, being open to new stuff, right? Knowing when to listen, being open to new ideas, valuing other people's ideas. Don't matter if you're a man or a woman, don't matter the amount of years of experience you have or you don't. That does not mean that somebody can't come with a genius idea or with valuable information, right? Be willing to be open minded, right? Because your status doesn't mean anything. We're all going to die one day, we're all going to be dead, right? And nobody's going to remember about anything. Nobody, right? So it doesn't even matter, right? It just doesn't matter. So, like be willing to open up, be willing to be open with your speech, but also be open with your mind and be open with your ears, right? If it's valuable, listen. If it's valuable, absorb. If it's not valuable, just leave, right? And so, either take a step back or stay and absorb. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Love that. Love that.
That's awesome. You know what also comes to me? That leaders are actually visionaries.
Uh-huh.
Managers don't have the vision, and they don't understand how you can make something from just your idea, from your imagination, into the reality. And also they take the accountability. Even if somebody screwed up, right, they would not just blame that person. They would just take that responsibility on themselves, and that's what I really admire in the leaders. Kara, you wanted to say something.
Oh, I loved it. The learn. There were too many exciting things to say at one time, and my mouth did not catch up with my brain right there. Apologies. Glitch. Learning. That is such a massive skill, quality, and tool. I mean, ticks all the marks for leadership if you are willing to learn. Love Toby's in the comments, and she was talking about how if they are doing their best, then they are doing it right for that moment, which makes me think about being the fool, right? Who defines what makes you look foolish? Because if it's other people, well, you don't got control over that. You're gonna look foolish a lot in your life and not even know it. That's gonna, but you get to define it for you and decide what makes you look foolish. So if being foolish means that you make a mistake, well, you're going to be a fool a lot. That's just my understanding of life. If you decide that what makes you look foolish is making a mistake and not being willing to learn from it, well, you'll probably be foolish a lot less because it's a choice that you get to make. That's what came up for me.
So
Awesome.
true. I love all the comments that Toby posts.
Oh, and I want to go back and touch on one thing she said. So we were talking about feelings, and Bruno was saying, like everyone. And I understood Bruno to be saying how everyone has feelings, but we do want to clarify that people don't feel the same thing for the same reasons, the same way. Every person's experiences impact how they feel. And some of us may feel it in our body, and some of us may be numb to that and not have that experience. So we only experience it in our minds. And then the entire spectrum of what that looks like all the way through from one side to the other, which I thought was a really good point out, because yes, we absolutely want to recognize that the experience of feelings is unique, but the fact that every body feels is factual.
Yes. And you know what comes to me now? It's, we also are the leaders in our own life, right? Let's not talk about, who we have to report to, right? Or who is leading us. How about leading our own life? Let's touch up on that topic. Like, how can we be the leaders of our own life and not rely on somebody's opinion or somebody advice? We are not running around and asking everybody before we actually make the decision. Like, we really understand how to make the decisions for ourselves. It means that we trust ourselves. It means that we value ourselves. This is the big thing, right? Bruno, what comes for you when we talk about to be the leader of your own life?
Oh man, it's like fuck. Jesus Christ. Oh man,
It's a self-love coach. Can you sum that up in 5 minutes or less?
Oh, fuck. It's a whole different universe. It's like we would be here all completely, because there's so many variables. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the amount of variables there are, because it's like everything is connected with one another, right? The things we say, the things we do based on our beliefs, right? Our automatic, the things that come out of us automatic, because that's the way we are, right? Our values. Toby said, Jesus Christ superstar, who in the hell do you think you are?
Oh, Toby, thanks for always making us laugh.
We love you too.
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely, absolutely love it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like it's hard to manage our own lives, because one of the reasons why sometimes it's much easier to point out other solutions or problems that other people are doing is because we're looking at it from the outside, right? We're noticing way more what the other person is doing, and the other person sometimes doesn't notice it because the person has been doing it for so long. It has become such a normal behavior to have that people don't even notice it, right? And um and same thing with us, same thing with me, for example. um Toby said, I am the old being and you young. Yes. Awesome.
Totally.
I need that movie
um
reference. I see you. My Grace is your Grace.
yeah, and it's like there's a lot of variables that impact our life. Managing our life can be very hard because sometimes it comes from when we were kids, especially like where I come from. And I remember as a kid I would always be like, oh my god, other people's families are so perfect. Oh my god, my mom is the worst. Oh my god, this. Oh my god, that. I mean, Jesus Christ. But the reality is that it's like you don't know what's going on, like behind closed doors of those families, right? And it's like, at the same time that I would think that about people, when I was a kid, people would come to me and say the same thing. People would be like, oh my god, your mom is the best. And I'm like, yeah. But that's the thing, but they would react the same way, right? And so, yeah. um at the same time, it's all about perspective. It's like you put a positive meaning out, the only thing you're going to get is a positive meaning back. If you put a negative meaning out, the only thing you're going to get is a negative meaning back, and it will manifest in your beliefs, it will manifest in your life, it will manifest in your thoughts and in your feelings. And that's why that law of attraction is perfectly in symphony with the universe, right? In its most amazing perfection, right? The only problem is that we don't want those things to happen. But the thing is that we involuntarily, sometimes, people involuntarily attract the things they don't want to attract because they're in the wrong energy. But the universe, whatever is up there, does not understand words or English. It understands energy, right? So whatever you say to the universe, if you say, you know what, I want to get run over today, and you're having thoughts and you're having those fears, the panic of that idea, the panic of your trauma will just keep manifesting itself in your life. But the joy of your energy, the authenticity of your energy, the fulfillment of your energy will just bring things that will prove on that reality as well, right? And so a good way to manage our lives is to really, always like go back to the basics. And this doesn't seem very basic at all, but this is the basics. This should be the basics that we should have been taught all our life, and we did not. We learned bullshit, we learned trash. We had to relearn every single thing that we learned, believing it was the right thing. And so many people end up dying at 60 or 70 years old, still believing that the things they were taught when they were kids were still the truth. And we were lucky and we're blessed that we're able to be here with all this knowledge, with all this wisdom, right? And we're able to live life believing in things that are closer to being true, right? That are closer to being true than really a lie, right? We're actually there. We're actually living a life. We're actually living that spiritual, emotional life that is closer to being true than to be a lie. And the problem is that a lot of people, they don't know how to manage their life because they're managing their life based on basics that are wrong. And if the basics are wrong, you're the only expert level you're gonna get to is the wrong one, right? So it's like people are experts in what is wrong and they're very beginners in what is right. And unfortunately, that is kind of the world that a lot of people live in. But and that's why they can't manage their life at all, because like who teaches systems, right? For people to live their life, right? Who teaches tips and solutions? People are dwell on their problems. People are problem dwellers, right? because they don't feel confident enough that they can really, like brainstorm about solutions. Fucking Ruth is like watching me summarize.
Toby, too bad we can't display the comments because Johnny is busy. Oh my goodness.
But it's like the reality is that it's like, but what you really want to be, you want to be a problem solver. You want to solve your problems. You want to feel confident, and you want to feel unique, and you want to feel powerful and capable enough to solve your problems, right? And that is one of the first things for you to actually know how to manage your own life, right? I give you another example for me to finish, because I feel like it's been more than fucking 5 minutes. So like, but at the same time, it's like a lot of women that I talk to, they're like, oh, like, if there's no way to do this, this way, then there's probably no other way to do it, period. And I'm like, no, there's always a way. Yes, you can. Sometimes I wake up tired, and I spend the rest of the day tired. And I'm like, you know why? Because that's what you believe. You believe that your day is actually going to be dictated by the way you feel, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to follow that lead. You make your own lead, right? You feel tired, say to yourself that you don't. No, I don't. You know what? I feel tired, but I don't care. And then they're like, I can do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Right? Your internal talk is already wrong by itself, right? So you have to also fix the things you say. You can't manage your life because you believe your life is fully impossible to manage. So your own behaviors will reflect on it, right? So yes, you can, right? Yes, you can, right? And there's no other way around. Because if you don't say yes, you can, what you're gonna say? Oh, no, I can't. No, better to be delusional, knowing that you're on the path to transform that delusion, right? Transform that delusion in actual proof, right? Than to never be on that path and stay, like shitting on ourselves, right? So, like, yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of what I believe.
That's awesome. I just wanted to add, when we take the leadership of our own life, right? So it's about making the decision, about not running around and figuring out who thinks what, and don't count for others' opinions. Also decide what is important for us, what we truly want to have in our life, and don't forget to inspire yourself the way you inspire others, because this is also the quality of the leader. Kara, what comes for you?
I mean, self-leadership is where all leadership starts. Let's be realistic about it. So as a parent, I will just speak. I mean, this is true whether you are in leadership, whether you are a parent, whether it's yourself. Bruno just talked about how we're programmed with all of these thoughts that we have to become aware that we're even programmed with, right? So of course, everything starts with us. If we don't stop and address our own BS, then we're going to use it like gasoline on the dumpster fire train wreck avalanche that's going on in front of us. And nobody needs that in their life. So leadership is 100% about dealing with this first. And it is complicated. I mean, Bruno, there are globally speaking so many variables that can go into that. However, luckily, while we're complex, the processes really aren't. So really, self-leadership is a recognition of a few dichotomies and then the leveraging of what I call the magic three, right? Hashtag magic three. It is recognizing that the very first thing that you have to do in every situation is decide, is this something I can control or is this something I cannot control? If it is raining, you can control putting up a tent, you can control going inside, you can control all kinds of, you don't control the rain though. You don't have that. We don't have that yet. That's not a thing that we can do. So first recognizing where you have control. And when you decide what you actually have control over, I mean, there's only three things. Luckily, it's the way we think, the way we speak, and then how we behave, and make sure that those align all the way through. But then it gets into that complicated space, right? So of course, it's the way you think. That is the first step of power and control, is to take back your power over how you think. But first you have to recognize it, right? So the first step, one of my favorite tools, is when you react to something, what is the first thought that you have in that situation? Become aware of that. And then what's the second thought? because the second one is more actually you. The first one is going to be that pre-programmed brainstem toddler brain. I either have been told what this is or I don't know step, right? Familiar, unfamiliar, baseline, reptilian brain. But the second thought, that's when the rest of your brain tricks in and it's like, I don't know that I agree with that one, or I totally agree with that one. That's where you can start to find your own voice. Then you get to start to listen to your own voice. Once you start to listen to it, then you can talk to it, about it, around it, and get clear on the communication of what your voice sounds like. One of the greatest tools for that is to physically and out loud look in a mirror and ask yourself, what do you want? If you are a leader, odds are you spend a lot of time asking other people what they want and what they need and how can you support them and what does that look like. So do that for you first. Radically speaking, what if you looked in the mirror and asked you what you wanted and what you needed for support and then did that so you had what you needed and the support you needed to go help other people? So literally asking yourself, the speaking, first think it, then speak it, and then go do that. This, while such an obvious step, seems to be a massive holdup for a lot of people to actually go do the thing that you know that you need to do. Or if somebody tells you, I need this thing, then, and you say, oh yeah, that would make your job easier, then go do that, go get that thing for them. But the having to go do it. And this goes back to what you guys were talking about with trust, right? Everything comes back to that foundation of trust. And learning to build that trust with yourself can and is as simple as making one commitment and keeping it. Decide that you're going to put on hard shoes every day for the week. Now you can literally put them on and take them back off because you made that commitment and you did it. You don't have to maintain it. You just have to do it. But then you're going to build trust with yourself that when you say you're going to do something, you then do it. So the process of self-leadership. Go ahead, sorry. The process of self-leadership is simple.
You know what question just came for me? Why is it so frightening to be the leader in our own life? Why is it so much fear around
it? Tag me in, boss. I'm in.
Oh, I mean,
yes,
yes.
Yes.
So like people, like people are afraid of what they are not because they're afraid they're not going to be able to deal with it. So, because in theory, people would want to be more. And in theory, that is correct. People want to be more. But that little anxiety, that little voice behind their back, like, I don't know. What if you fail? What if you do this? How are you going to look? What is your family going to talk about you? People are going to remember about it, right? But there's like all sorts of thing going on, right? Like if you fail, your friends are going to abandon you. What if you can speak up, right? Because people now are expecting you to do that. Like what's going to happen, right? And so I feel like when people, I feel like when people either get too big or when the expectations start to really match, right? Because the expectations start to come and stuff. That's when you really see, right, not what the true intentions of somebody, like it's bad or wrong, right? Because the intentions are, I want to win and I want to look good while I'm winning and I want to do good, right? But here's something, right? Do you lose because you have a pile of shit all over you? Like, okay, so you win, right? Let's say you win. You're winning, right? Say you win. You absolutely win. Do you lose now because you have a pile of shit over you? No. You know why? Because you win. It doesn't matter what you have and what you're wearing. It doesn't matter. You won. You won. You could run a marathon on a mascot, the most ridiculous mascot in the world, but if you finish first, the mascot didn't stop you for sure. You still looked ridiculous in that mascot, but you won. Right? But you won. So it doesn't really matter, does it? Right? And so it's like people are afraid of how they're going to look. People let their fears stop them. because they're afraid that their fears that have no hands, no legs, no arms, no bones, no nothing, right? People give their power away to their fears and they let their fears become bigger, right? And so people are more afraid of uncertainty, right, than really of what is certain, because people want to be in control, and that's all ego, right? Ego a lot of times is not arrogance, right? There is some arrogance there, because but not in a negative manipulative way. The arrogance there is people believing they're actually going to be able to control whatsoever, right? uh, because people want that a lot. People want to control a lot, and there's certain things that people cannot control, so they get away from those things to go back to the things they can control. And usually the things that people can control, which is what is certain here, what is known, what is familiar, what feels safe to be around, right, is where people eventually stay, even if people are being abused verbally, physically, even, right, if they know that that thing that is going to change their life. But if the fear that they have is bigger than really putting in the work and not getting anything, they will stay there. The regret will come after, but right now that anxiety is so big, right, they're not even thinking about the regret, they're thinking much more about that now, right? And so all those factors even influence, people a lot. People are not able to observe that from their higher self. They're just observing and observing and observing and observing. And it's important to just understand that, it's like, um i am I become like a person who no, that's not the right word, who zooms out a lot. That's the right, like, the expression. I zoom out, right? It's like, well, this is a big universe. There's trillions of stars, which means there are trillions of suns, and each star we see on the sky is a solar system usually, right? I believe so. And so there's trillions of them, and the distance from this one to one that is light years is the same one. And so if we were on that solar system, we would look at a star, and one of those stars would be ours, and we wouldn't see planet Earth, and we wouldn't see Jupiter, and we wouldn't see any black holes, and we wouldn't see anything, right? And
You got
and
frozen
like
for a
we wouldn't
second.
see anything. So it's a big universe.
You know,
Oh, I got frozen. Oh, fuck.
yes, for a little bit.
But to say, yes, right. But to say that, like, it's a big universe. Who cares? When they were all gonna die, right? So there's no shame, there's no blame, there's no guilt, there's no suffering, because none of that will save you from dying, right? You can try and control your ego as much as you can, but when you die, your ego is gonna go up with you, your soul is gonna go up with you, everything is gonna go up with you, and you cannot go back in time to redo all the mistakes you believe you made. And the majority of those mistakes, like, usually you say, like, the graveyard is where you see the most wasted potential, because it's like the dreams are there, like waiting for somebody to pick them up and carry them and finally give them some use. But nobody can do that because they were up to those people to do it and they couldn't, right? Because people couldn't really control the panic and the anxiety. They, whatever. Toby said,
You know
actually,
what?
ego is in the body. Yes,
I
correct,
love
Toby.
what Toby said when I asked the question why is so frightened to be the leader. And she said, because we have been taught to comply and follow.
Right.
First to our parents, and then family, and then the society. And it's so true. It's such a sad reality, right? That sometimes we don't even know how to handle ourselves. We go around and ask everybody else for opinion before we actually make the decision. So
Mhm.
what we are doing right now, we are just allowing ourselves to sit down and realize, like, why would I have to wait for somebody's permission to live my life to the fullest? I am the authority. I'm the highest authority of my life. And I want to live it the way I want to. And that's exactly what we are teaching through all these podcasts, through our coaching trainings, just saying that who cares about the economy? Who cares about everything else, right? Who cares about the bank account? What is important is who you are as a person and why you are here. Once you figure these deep questions, you are gonna start asking yourself, how can I show up in this world as the best version of myself? And that's where the inner work is gonna start, and that's where you become the leader, because once you change your life, because everything comes from the inside. We are not waiting for the outside world to change before we change, right? First we change, and the circumstances we are living in are going to change for us, right? And by doing so, we also inspire millions other people to take the life in their hands. And that's exactly how we lead ourselves, and that's how we lead everybody else. Kara.
Yes, Shelby, I'm on a balance board. That's why I'm wiggly, guys. Sorry, I'm so wiggly, but I just needed to stand tall, and my balance board makes that better. Why are we afraid to lead our own lives? I think that you just covered that beautifully, and I'll just say exactly what you said again, but in a different way, is that we're not modeled. It is easier to follow because we see that everywhere. We see people following each other constantly, all over, in every platform in existence in our life. It is the easy way. It is easier to stay where things are familiar and where even if it sucks, we know the suck, right? And we don't have as many models for what it looks like to go out and lead the way. And some of the models we have aren't great, so we look at that and we're like, oh, that does not look healthy or fun. I don't want that. And then we have to figure it out. So we really have to. It's like being a toddler all over again, and you're being asked to do something that you literally don't understand. You've never seen anybody do it. You hear the words, you understand mostly what the person is saying to you, but connecting the dots to the behaviors that follow is intimidating as a absolutely. And it brings up all of that can't. Oh, I hate that word. It's the worst 4-letter word in existence. It brings all of that up, though. We put those barriers in our way because we don't really mean can't. We mean I don't know, or it's unfamiliar, or I've never tried that before, or I'm not good at that yet. But we put this other word and it blocks us. It stops us. And we don't have anybody out there modeling how to go, okay, and then move on. We do. There are many models out there, and you can find them. That's why books and podcasts and all of those are so important and so amazing. But that, I think that is why it's so scary, why we fear to take that lead ourselves is, A, we're not aware that we're actually already doing it. So fun fact, you're all already doing that. If you are of an age where you can be here watching this, you have in fact already been a leader in your own life. That done did happen already. So hate to break it to you, that's going on.
Yes, I love it. I totally love that topic. And let's just wrap it out. I think there was a lot said during this discussion. So we were talking about leader versus follower, and Kara brought a good perception saying that actually we all can be the leaders and the followers at the same time. It's all about how we perceive each of these statements, right? And how we show up for each of these words. And there were a lot of great things saying how we define the leader, what are the characteristics of a good leader, right? And how we can actually be these inspiring people who are uplifting others, people who are showing by example and do not be afraid to get dirty, right? Dirty hands as you speak. So, and also we actually concluded saying about that the most important thing is to become the leader of our own life, and then we could actually be the better leaders in our life in general for others, right? To lead others to experience their best lives. Kara.
I think that you wrapped that up beautifully, and I don't know that there's any other way to go. I guess tools that we shared were the steps, start with the way you think, then the way you speak, then the way you behave, as simple as that, as well as just the recognition that it's mostly complicated in our mind, and it can be simpler, and you can do it. Not only can you, but you're worth it, and that provides value.
Yeah, and make your own decision. Don't wait for anybody else. Just, decide for yourself and trust. Trust that whatever you decide is your right path, right? Because otherwise we could sit and dwell on it and thinking, is this the right choice or not? Just make up the choice and stick to it, knowing that this is your right decision. Bruno, a couple of more words, please, and so we can just wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, be authentic, be you, be free, be unique. Don't let people stick a finger up your ass, like telling you what to be, right? And hold you up like ice cream. Be you, be free. Tell everybody to go fuck themselves if you have to, and if not, love them, right? Because that's what leaders do as well, right? Stand up for yourself, right? Remember that you're not a robot, you're a human, and you deserve the love. You don't have to have the most perfect thoughts. You don't have to have the most perfect life to deserve love, right? You gotta love yourself. So I love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a great episode. And obviously, as always, we would love to hear your opinion. Toby, appreciate you, love you so much, your energy, your wisdom. And it's always fun when you tune in. We love you
Yes.
lots. And just, like we want for the audience just to say something about it. Let's just have the conversation, right? It doesn't have to be just one-sided. We also want to hear from each one of you who is going to be listening to this episode. What is your stand on leader and the follower? We love you all and see you next week on another episode.
Johnny says bye from the comments. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.